Okay, so let's start by correcting homework from last week, right? And then we'll go over the other things that we want to get done today, right? So hopefully this will take us about 10 minutes and not more, right? All right, so last week I referred to this as the misrelated participle, right? But I told you that sometimes in grammar books, it's also called a misplaced modifier because it's not next to the thing that it's telling us about, right? So therefore it's misplaced. And it's also called a dangling modifier. For the same reason, it's hanging off of a cliff. It's not next to the thing that it's supposed to be describing or modifying, right? All right, so we look at the first one. Entering the office, his shirt hung loosely on his shoulder. So as it's written, it's as though the shirt is what was doing the entering of the office. We don't want that, right? So some options, there were different answers that people put, right? But as he entered the office, right, his shirt hung loosely on his shoulders, right? And of course, there were other options to fix it. Next one, having left the school, the bell began to ring. Well, having left the school, who left the school? There's no mention of who left the school. It can't be the bell, right? Because the bell doesn't have life and animation. It can't walk away from the school, right? So as we left the school, or as I left the school, having left the school, I heard the bell begin to ring, right? But as we left the school, or after we left the school, the bell began to ring, right? All right, hanging around her neck, he saw a beautiful necklace. He's not the thing or person that was hanging around the neck, it was the necklace, right? So he saw a beautiful necklace hanging around her neck, right? All right. Flowing down the mountain, the stones were deposited. But what was flowing down the mountain? As the river, as the flood water, as well, it's unlikely stones flowing, right? So as the river flowed down the mountain, right, it deposited stones. Now I could say, as the river flowed down the mountain, the stones were deposited. The thing is, the first part of the sentence will have who is doing the action, which is the river, who or what. And then the second part of the sentence won't really have who or what's doing the action. The stones were deposited. By what, by whom, we don't know. So it's better to keep both things active. So as the river flowed, it deposited, right? Smoking and drinking every night, his health declines rapidly. Due to his smoking and drinking every night, his health declines or is declining rapidly, right? All right, now this last one, for some reason, gave us a little bit of a run for our money, right? Number 6 was a hard one. Most people who tried the exercise did not get number 6. And let's talk about why. Our vacation passed happily going to the town and cinema. So some people thought, all right, well, there's no error here. Do we think there's no error here? All right, thanks, Samia. I'm putting in bell now. You see, now this sentence, look at this option. This is an option that some people uses, but it still has the error in it. Going to the town and cinema. Our vacation passed happily. This one also has the error. Okay, so remember what we're trying to do is put the thing that is doing the action, the person that's doing the action, right next to the action, right? So, vacation passed happily. Was the vacation the one going to the town and cinema? It was not. Going to town and cinema or vacation pass happily. So it's the same thing. Is the vacation the one going to the town and cinema? It is not. Who is going to the town and cinema? That is what we have to put in, right? So how could we do that? Now we don't hear the error because we're used to passive voice. We're used to hearing sentences where the action is done, but it's not stated who has done it, right? And that wouldn't be an issue, except that now it sounds like the vacation is the doer of the action, right? So we still have this problem here. All right, so if we go to fix it, we need to say who passed their vacation happy. So we passed our vacation happily, going to the town and cinema. Right? Another option is to say going to the town and cinema. Right, comma, and we can put in who did it, Jones family passed their vacation happily, right? So we have to make sure who or what is doing the action is there in the sentence, and that is next to the action being done. Okay? All right. So look at them for a minute, and if you have questions, let me know before we move on to the next thing. All right, no questions. Everybody understands? So if you sent me your answers on WhatsApp, I sent you back feedback. And I told you which were correct and which ones had to be revised still, right? All right. Now, let me also just say that I received homework from 9 people, and I have a list of those 9. Thank you, right? Even if you sent it late, that's okay. I still have it. I still give you credit, right? It's very considerate of the rest of the class to not want to overburden me with homework, right? But we still need to do it, right? And with the only exception is the older students who are in the Saturday class, they can choose whether they do it or not. But the people in lower forms, so this is your main class, you need to please submit homework for the class, right? All right. We also have, so I'm done here, I'm changing the slide. We have a housekeeping issue to talk about, which is that next week, Tuesday, is a public holiday in Trinidad. So we have an option. We can have class earlier in the day, and it will be recorded for people who will not make it because they're doing something fun for the holiday, I don't know. Or we can have class at the regular time. Do you all have a preference? Okay, while you think about that, if we do it earlier, it will be about 11:30 because Sil will have his class at 9. And I will have my class right after 11:30. So the majority of people are saying earlier, and I have 2 votes for regular. All right, so if the majority agrees earlier, then we will do earlier. Right, and then you could still have class at the regular 4 o'clock time with the recording. I'll try to get it uploaded by then, right? All right, so here is our list for today. We've done this. Right, so we will do it earlier next week, Tuesday. We'll have class at 11:30, right? We have a prose comprehension to do. We have a commas exercise, and we have a thesis sentence exercise. My feeling is let's do the commas and the thesis first, and then the comprehension last, right? If we have time. Do we have a preference for which one we want to do first, commas or thesis sentences? All right, let's do thesis sentences first. Yeah. All right, no problem. Let's do thesis sentences first. And then we will go to commas. So while we have the most energy, we'll do the hardest thing. Right. So thesis sentences. All right, so first of all, today I want to give you a clear definition from my perspective of what it is. If you've been in my class before, then you have this and you should know it by heart, right? So a thesis sentence is a sentence or a group of sentences. Right? So these bullet points, I would like you to note. This thesis sentence is a topic. And then the points about what it is, we need to note, right? So it's a sentence or it's a group of sentences. We write it at the end of our introduction, right? So when we write the introduction, the very last sentence is our thesis sentence. That is clear to everybody. Now, some people's instinct is going to be to put it first, and that is not going to give you a strong introduction, right? So it's the very last sentence. When you meet somebody new for the first time, do you start with good morning, hello, hi, my name is, or do you go straight to I'm allergic to XYZ and my favorite TV show is this and my birthday is on this date? We start with the hi and the how and the hello, right? How are you and hello, right? Right, and hello, my name is. We don't go to the details about us until the end when we're sure they're going to be listening. Right. So just remember, it goes at the end of the introduction. We don't lead with the details. All right. 2 parts. The thesis has 2 parts. It has your opinion on whatever the question is that they gave you. And it has to have your main points. And I tell people to try for 3 main points. Right. And the other thing is they have to be main points, right? They can't be details that will go into the body of your essay, right? So 2 or 3 main points. I tell people try for 3, but it is perfectly acceptable if you're pressed for time or you really can't think of something else to use 2 and develop the essay with those, right? That is okay. Right? All right, so it has to have your opinion on something and it has to have the main points that you will discuss in the essay. And right, that's all I want to tell you about that for now. All right, so I'm giving you a minute. Make sure you have all of this noted. Is there anything else important about the thesis sentence that I don't have written here that anybody else wants to mention from their writing experience or from school? All right. Let's go to the next part of the slide then, right? Okay, so here is our, these are our instructions, and I'd like you to take down the instruction, and we're going through the exercise slowly so that you could write down the question and the answer. So let me make that clear. All right, so for this exercise, please note the question and answer, right? We want to create something we can come back to and revise when the time comes. Okay. So this is the first question. The necessity of school lunches, right? So this is a group of points. They're balanced, they're cheap, and they're convenient, right? So for a topic like this, the question is asking you whether or not the school feeding program, school lunches, are necessary in schools? Or should students be left to bring families, parents, and students be left to provide their own meals? Okay, so these points are leaning towards yes, the school should provide, not the school necessarily, but school lunches should be provided. It might not be the school, it might be the government, it might be some other organization, right? But school lunches should be provided. And we see the three reasons. They are balanced, they are cheap, and they are convenient. Right? So how can you convert these points into a thesis sentence? Let's try one together. So the first one, if I'm writing this as a thesis sentence, right? School lunches should be provided to students right? So this is the opinion part. And now we come to the points, right? Because they are balanced. Do you like the word cheap, or is there a different word that you would like to use? What's another word besides cheap that we could use to convey the idea that it won't cost people a lot of money? A low cost, all right. Can I say they are low cost? I have their balance. I could say they cost less. Now, another option I could say, right, affordable. Yes, is a good option. Affordable. And also economical. Right, inexpensive, also good. Right. So, cheap is okay, but cheap doesn't have as nice a ring to it as any of these other words. All right. And then one more thing, cost less and so they are balanced, cost less and convenient. Okay, I don't need that last comma. I'm gonna go back and take it out. Right? All right. Now, if I want to be a little fancier, so here are my three reasons, right? We can see the three reasons here, right? Balance, cost less, convenient, right? If I wanted to be fancier, yeah, guys, you could take down all of this. You could shorten this if you like. Now, when I was in secondary school, well, I'm university too, they had a little shorthand system for writing points down. So instead of the whole of necessity, I might write necess, right? You all text all the time. You could write school, lunches, right? But instead, well, yeah. So use your little shorthand. You don't have to write out. Just make sure you can understand it after, right? All right. Now, if I wanted to make this a little fancier, I could say this with more words. I'm not sure if people prefer this or they would not. So instead of because they are balanced, I could write something like because this would provide students with a nutritious option, right? It would be economical for families and it would be much more convenient, right? I can't with the rest of the word. All right, good. Right. Is there a preference? Do people have a preference for the blue or the orange? Is there one that you try to write or one that you prefer to write? Do you prefer the one with more words or the one with fewer words? Some people prefer the one with fewer words. It's more direct. You get to the point. Good, no problem. And then some people prefer the second option. They think it sounds better. Right, so you have to find the option that you could produce on a regular basis, right? Now, I will show you one thing though. In the first option, you notice that the points are basically one or two words. So balanced, costless, convenient, right? So your thesis, when you write it, the points have to be, it's called parallel, in the sense that they sort of take up the same number of words, they have the same grammatical kind of structure. It's not like they are balanced, and it would be economical and convenient, right? If I'm stating if I'm stating a point with one word or two words, I need to do that for the other 2 points, right? And then if I look here now on the second option, this gets a little longer. It's like a clause, because I have provide students with a nutritious option. I have a verb and then the idea. It would be economical, verb and then the idea. For families, it would be much more convenient, verb and the idea, right? So remember that a thesis sentence the points have to be kind of parallel. All right, so I'm going to pause for a minute to give you a chance to note this. The next one you are going to try on your own. Okay, let's clear away the screen. And let's try the next one. So the next group of points is about wearing uniforms. Now, before you get into writing the thesis, let's just evaluate how the points are written. So wearing uniforms reduce cost, builds team spirit. The best way to prepare for the world of work, because in the world of work, you have to wear professional clothes. Based on what I just told you about how the points have to be parallel, is there one of these things that doesn't fit with the rest? So look at it, examine it. Reduce cost, builds team spirit, and then best way to prepare for the world of work, because in the world of work, you have to wear professional clothes. Do you all notice the difference in how it's written? It's a problem, right? So brainstorming, that's fine. But when we come to write the thesis, we need to shorten this part to make it match with the other two, right? All right, so you try now, you generate a thesis for this point, and when you are done, write it in your book first. When you're done, put it in the chat. I'm going to give us 2 minutes. And then we will look at some of the examples together. Okay, good. So to answer this one, the first thing we need to say is, what is the opinion on uniforms? We must have that. Right? Okay, so wearing uniforms has many benefits, right? Okay, and remember that has agrees with wearing is the act of wearing has, right? Now uniforms has, but wearing has many benefits, right? So wearing uniforms has many benefits, which include I could write savings on clothes, right? But I have reduced cost. I'll put back reduced cost, reduced costs, and I'll put in on clothing, right? Building team spirit. And, okay, how can I shorten the next point? So I have reduced costs on clothing. That's like 4 words, building team spirit, 3 words. So I want 3 or 4 words, right? Prepares students for work, right? Or employment. Instead of work, I could put employment. And I could probably also put the word future, right? Now, it is perfectly fine to scratch your paper once what you have written over is legible, right? All right, so this is one option, as well as the other options that you'll have typed, right? If you have one and I've approved it, you don't need to take down the example. If you didn't want send one, please take down the example. We will do one more, and then we will move on. Yes, so I sort of took it for granted we would know what type of writing a thesis sentence goes into. But let me just back up a little bit. What piece of writing does the thesis sentence go into? When do you need a thesis sentence? For an essay, right? For an argumentative essay. So not a story, but when you have to write a persuasive piece of writing or an argumentative essay, sorry, or even a speech, because now sometimes we have to write speeches, right? Any of those things you would need a thesis for. And the purpose of the thesis is to tell your audience what is going to come in your essay, to state your opinion and tell your audience what is going to come. So let me just add 2 points here, right? If you have space after you notice the bullet points, you can add them in or just add them in wherever you are on your page, right? So a thesis is needed in an argumentative, but some places we call it, some teachers call it persuasive / persuasive essay, right? Or a speech. Okay, and I have one more point, but it can't fit on there. I'm going to put it up here. Its purpose is to tell the reader what the essay will be about. The essay / speech will be about. Okay, so when you go anywhere to buy food, you go to Burger King, you go to Starbucks, you go to a restaurant, you go, where else do you go? You go to somewhere, Pizza Hut, Mario's, right? Or you're going to order something from Mario's and then pick it up. You look at the menu. You look to see what they have serving, what they have on special, what the price is, what will come on the pizza, the Veggie Max versus the Garden Delight. You know, like you check all those things. And the menu gives you the information on what you could expect, right? So if Mario's does not have sushi on its menu, you cannot expect sushi when you go to Mario's. If Mario's has donuts on its menu, you could expect donuts when you go to Mario's, or cupcakes or ice cream, which they do in some branches, right? You could expect those things, right? That is what a thesis is. You put it in the introduction of the essay or the speech or the piece of writing. And the purpose is to tell people, all right, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is what I think, and this is why I think it. And then you go on to talk about those things in more detail. Right? Now, why do we need a thesis? Well, if we have to give information to other human beings, or if as human beings we need to get information, a thesis can help us process the information, retain the information, understand what we're reading. It's like if a teacher is doing a lesson and before they start the lesson, they write the topic on the board, Or in a class, they're going to cover 3 things and they tell you what the 3 things are they're going to cover, right? The thesis does the same function in the essay. Its purpose is to tell people what you think and what the points would be. So there are no surprises. We mustn't wait until the end of the essay to find out what you think about something. That is not strong writing. That is not writing that people will remember. And it's not writing that will persuade us. Okay, so let's look at the next number 3 here. And I'll ask you to try number 3 on your own as well, right? If you are confused, I want to know if you're confused, right? So thank you to the student who said, hey, I'm confused, right? And if anybody else is confused, please tell me. All right, the importance of PE. So this one has 2 points, stress relief and learning about health. So we are probably going to write an essay according to this number 3 on why PE is important. And the 2 reasons we're going to develop in the essay, the body. Well, we're going to talk about it, about relieving stress, and we're going to talk about it, how it helps us to learn about our health, right? So try now a thesis sentence that states your opinion that PE is important and states your 2 points, stress relief and learning about health, right? So thesis, you're trying a thesis with those 2 things. Now, usually in any class, even when I have new students, like some of y'all are new, when I bring up thesis sentences, a lot of the students have met the term before. But there will be some who have not, because maybe their teacher doesn't use that term. Maybe they missed a class when it was discussed in school. Maybe they haven't done it yet. So if you haven't done it yet, and if you're confused, please say, right? Okay, but if you are good to go, try coming up with this next sentence. And we're only doing 3. I'm only asking you to do 3, but some of you have a good grasp of it. So 4 and 5 are also up. If you finish with 3 before I stop you, you could try 4 and 5. Two students and more, but I'll share with you the first 2 that I got, which are really excellent answers, right? Okay, so the first answer was from Soraya. PE is very important in our lives. All right, and I like that Soraya was brave enough to put a full stop there and start another sentence, right? The reason for this is that PE provides stress relief, right? And actually, should probably be the reasons for this. And teaches about health, right? So that's one option. All right, and then another option came from Shivali. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly, right? So you can correct me if I'm not. And let me see, I'm going to put this one in the chat because I'm out of space on the screen. I'll read it though. PE is an important subject at school because it helps students relieve their stress and teaches them about health. Right? So this is another option. Very good option. And I'm looking at some of the other answers. Right? It teaches you about your health and also helps with stress relief. Very good answer. Okay, this one is from Andrew. PE plays a crucial role in promoting overall well-being by providing essential stress relief and fostering a deeper understanding of health. Right? All right. Now, Andrew's sentence has a third point that I don't have in my points, but his point is nice too. Look at it, it's in the chat, right? So his third point is thereby equipping individuals with the tools necessary for a balanced and healthy lifestyle. Right? So a third paragraph could talk about what tools PE gives you that you could carry on with as an adult. Okay. All right. Any other questions anybody wants to ask about this topic right now? I feel like more people were able to relate to the PE question. All right, no questions right now, right? All right, let's check the time. It's 5:25, so let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll start looking at commas. We want to get through some of the uses of commas, right? All right, can I clear this away or is anybody still writing? Well, I'll leave it up for 2 minutes and then I will clear it away, right? All right, first one. We use a comma to separate things on a list. Now, in all of the examples, we are going to use the rule and put in a comma, right? So everybody is familiar with this one. You've heard it at least once in your life, right? You have to put commas in between items on a list. Henry likes cakes, chocolates, and pastries. I hope you finished your homework, organized your bag, and packed your lunch. Carrots are beautiful, wholesome, and delicious. On other lies, I tell myself, yeah. All right, where do the commas go? Where do the commas go in these sentences? For the first one, where do I have to put a comma? Right, so I have to put a comma after cakes. Let's put a nice obnoxious pink. And after well, not after chocolates. I don't have to put it after chocolates. But you could have, it's an American convention to put a comma in front of the last item, but not really a British English convention. So I'm not going to put it there. All right, and then I hope you finished your homework, comma, organize your bag, and packed your lunch. Carrots are beautiful, wholesome, and delicious. So beautiful, comma, and then wholesome and delicious, right? Okay, good. So take down the examples, please. Right, and while you're doing that, I'll just say for our general knowledge, just now when we were writing the thesis sentence and we separated our points by commas, it's the same concept. We're listing our points and we separate points by commas. Okay, can we move to the next slide? If anybody is still writing, you have to tell me, right? Otherwise, okay, still writing. Go ahead. All right, true or false? This one is about your ears and your nose. Your ears and nose never stop growing. You know, obviously they're bigger than they were when you were a baby, but do they still continue growing once you pass a certain age? When you're like in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, are they still going to be growing? I'm getting a lot of falses. All right. Well, sorry. Whoops. Right. My source told me true, but now I'm beginning to doubt myself because of the number of false answers we got. So I think I'm going to look it up again. Do your ears keep growing? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you're all right. They're not growing. They're just changing as you get older. So at some point they stop growing. Yeah. And then they just change. So they might, droop or spread, or I don't know what else ears could do, or noses could do. All right. So next rule. Before or after the person that you are speaking to, you use a comma, right? So I need to find a new job, Sheila. Where do I put my comma? Before the person I'm speaking to, where does it go? After job, right, and before Sheila. So now this is especially important in creative writing when you have people that you might be speaking to or people who might be speaking to you, and you offset the name with a comma, right? All right. Next one. Harry, I really like this tea, old chap. All right, where do we put the comma? Harry. Good. After Harry, right? Right. Now I need one more comma because I'm addressing him again with another phrase because I'm British. Old chap, right? I'm calling him old chap. So I'm speaking to him. So I need to put a comma after T. Right. And before old chap. So it's not just when you call them my name. It's also when you refer to the person by a different sort of handle. A nickname, a girl, boy, friend, enemy, whatever. Once you're addressing them directly, we put a comma to offset what we're calling them, right? And one more example. Girl, you would not believe what happened next. Where does the comma go? After girl, right? So girl, you would not believe what happened next. Oh, another true or false. Oh, hey, this one about bee. No, not bees. This one about humming. You can't hum while you're holding your nose. Is that true or false? Everybody gonna try it now? I tried it when I read it. It is true. If you hold your nose and try to hum, you'll see it's true. It's true. And the reason is because you need to blow air out in order to hum, but your mouth also needs to be closed in order to hum. So if your mouth is closed and your nose is held shut, then no sound will come out. All right. We just said before or after names, but now we're before or after, before please and after yes or no. But I think you could also have the option where it has to come after please if please is at the beginning of the sentence, right? So yes, I think we should take a walk. Comma goes after yes. No, I would never switch to coffee. All right, these are the tea drinkers. So no, comma, I would never switch to coffee. Right? We are ready for the bill, please. So in front of the please, right? We are ready for the bill, please. Right? And I think that if we wrote the sentence, please, could we have the bill? It's a little strange. We wouldn't necessarily say that. It might sound funny, but if the please comes at the beginning, I think you would still have to put a comma. Now, the exception would be if it was in the middle. So could we please have the bill? Then no comma. Because now the please is not by itself. Now it's part of the verb. Right? We're talking about when the yeses or the nos or the pleases are by themselves, separate from the main sentence. Right? So the comma is separating things that interrupt the flow of the main idea. The main idea is, I think we should take a walk, and the yes is extra. The main idea is, I would never switch to coffee, and the no is extra. So we put a comma to separate it, right? But up here, the please is in the middle of the sentence. Could we please have the bill? So it's not interrupting this time. It's part of the whole situation. Right, ready to move to the next slide? Let's go to the next one. To separate introductory words or phrases in a sentence. So this is a similar explanation like the yes and the no and the please, right? The words and the phrases are extra to the main idea. When the rain is falling, I use an umbrella. Right. Where does the introductory word or phrase end? What is the introductory phrase? What's the main idea? I use an umbrella, right? The main idea is I use an umbrella. So the introductory word or phrase will be this first thing. When the rain is falling, right? Note that we cannot have that by itself to be a sentence. When the rain is falling, I can't put a full stop. That wouldn't be complete. We are left asking, well, what happens? Right? Once we have that extra word when or since or although or because attached to the rain is falling, then the idea is no longer complete. We're waiting for more information, right? All right, so when the rain is falling, okay, here's another example. After the car caught on fire, I drove it to the mechanic. There I am driving the car to the mechanic. Where does my introductory phrase end? By fire, good. So this whole thing here is the introductory phrase, right? Okay, last one. If I could only drink one beverage for the rest of my life, it would be coffee. After life, good. So all of this. It is longer than the main idea, but the fact that it has the if attached to it, makes it an introductory phrase or clause and not the main idea. Introductory clause, it has a verb. Right? Oh, actually, before we change the slide, I just want to explain something, which perhaps some of you know, right? If the order of the words in the sentence is different, then we do not need the comma anymore. So for instance, I use an umbrella when the rain falls, right? Is falling, but this is shorter, full stop, no comma. I drove it to the mechanic. Whoops, my bad. After it's caught on fire, right? And really for good writing, I should say I drove the car. Right? First, so do we know what it is? And then here it would be, it would be coffee if I could only drink one beverage for the rest of my life, no comma, right? So when the pieces of the sentence are organized differently and the interruption comes after, well, it's not an interruption anymore. It's attached to the main idea. So no comma there, right? All right, a minute again if anybody wants to note this. Right, one more true or false. Y'all know what animal this is? Have y'all seen Madagascar? All right, so we have a whole little group of lemurs here. A group of lemurs is called a conspiracy. True or false? It is true. Like how a group of fish is called a school of fish, and a group of cattle is called a herd of cattle. A group of lemurs is called a conspiracy. Yes, very strange, right? English is a strange language. It's about to get stranger. I think I have a group of crows is called a murder. True or false? Yeah, I didn't know the conspiracy one before today. I was really looking for this the crow true or false, and then I came across the conspiracy true or false. This, guys, is true. A murder of crows for like a whole flock of crows, a whole group of crows is called a murder. Specifically crows. These birds are kind of scary here. Yes, it's very strange, I know. All right. So conspiracy for a group of lemurs, murder for a group of crows. Let us go to the comprehension. Right? We don't have a lot of time left. So I think we will read it through once and I'll focus on the words that are in bold that I would like you to find the meanings of. For that will be the homework, right? All right. In the 16th century, an age of great marine and terrestrial exploration. No, you don't have to write this, guys. Do not write this. Do not write this. Right. What you could write, well, the only thing I'm going to want you to write is the words in bold that as we go, I will highlight, right? Okay, so in the 16th century, that's 1500 and something, right? An age of great marine and terrestrial exploration. Ferdinand Magellan led the first expedition to sail around the world. As a young Portuguese noble, he served the King of Portugal, but he became involved in the quagmire of political intrigue at court and lost the king's favor. After he was dismissed from service by the King of Portugal, he offered to serve the future Emperor Charles V of Spain. A papal decree of 1493 had assigned all land in the New World west of 50 degrees west longitude to Spain and all of the land east of that line to Portugal. Magellan offered to prove that the East Indies fell under Spanish authority. On September 20th, 1519, what's the date today? All right, well, in 3 days, it'll be at the anniversary of that. Magellan set sail from Spain with 5 ships. More than a year later, one of those ships was exploring the topography, so it's another one, of South America, in search of a water route across the continent. The ship sank, but the remaining 4 ships searched along the southern peninsula of South America. Finally, they found the passage they sought near 50 degrees south latitude. Magellan named this passage the Strait of All Saints, but today it is known as the Strait of Magellan. One ship deserted while in the passage and returned to Spain. So few sailors were privileged to gaze at the first panorama of the Pacific Ocean. Those who remained crossed the meridian, known as the International Dateline, in the early spring of 1521 after 98 days on the Pacific Ocean. During those long days at sea, many of Magellan's men died of starvation and disease. Sad. Later, Magellan became involved in an insular conflict in the Philippines and was killed in a tribal battle. Only 1 ship and 17 sailors under the command of the Basque navigator Elcano survived to complete the westward journey to Spain and thus prove once and for all that the world is round with no precipice at the edge. The questions will be for next week, not this week, right? So what I want you to do for right now is to make a list of the highlighted words. And for homework, you're just going to find the meanings, right? Yeah, I found a nice YouTube video on it. So I think next week, when we start with the comprehension, we look at the video first. And the 5 minutes, at the 4:30, before, well, we're waiting at 5 minutes to start. All right, so make a list of the highlighted words. And find the meanings. Yeah, you can screenshot it if you like. But you need to write down the words and the meanings as homework, right? So I'm not asking you to submit homework this week, but I am asking you to write down the words and find the meanings, right? So next week, I will probably give you a quiz to complete with the words. And so then I'll know if the homework was done, right? All right, so marine, terrestrial, quagmire, intrigue, papal, topography, route, peninsula, sought, strait. So some of these, obviously, some of you will know. If you did geography, you'll know more of them. Panorama, meridian, insular, precipice. Right? Did we leave out any? No, I think that's all right. All right. So I'm giving you the last few minutes of class to note the homework. And if you have any questions, you can ask me, right? If not, once you're done noting the homework, you all are free to leave, right? How to get the recordings? You go to the school website, which I'm putting in the chat now, and you go to the English classroom, and then you type in the password, which is EAST, all common letters, EAST. And the website is iLoveLessons.com. Right? You have to put in that last S.